Benjamin. I'm doing a live video. Someone yesterday messaged me about a chess club in Cape Town, South Africa, and they needed supplies and so forth, and possible tournament money for their kids so they can join tournaments. He's kind of starting off, and apparently, I'm not sure if he's starting off recently or how soon, but he's kind of struggling and asking people for some help. So I figured I'd do a video of a lesson and also ask people if they are interested and being helpful in that area to let me know. All right. And here for the chess. Now for I normally do lessons with this bot right here, the Maria bot, with my group. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do that now because this is what I'm most familiar with doing. The reason why I do 1200 is because the group that I normally teach is under 1,000, and a lot of times people hang pieces, are overly aggressive, and make some mistakes. So it's kind of a lesson about how to kind of try to think more stable and not leave your pieces very loose. Um, and this is a great bot for that because if you messed up, she will punish you. So it is a very aggressive bot, but also very weak, so it does make mistakes. So I'll play random, and I'll do 2 games. And if anyone wants to talk or ask questions about anything, that's perfectly fine. All right. I always start with e4. Very simple opening, and I normally play knight to f3 to attack the center, which is a very basic opening. And she played f5. Um, this is an opening I'm not very familiar with. So when faced with an opening you're unfamiliar with, a lot of times people kind of panic a bit and be like, "Well, what do I do? It's not what I learned. It's not. I was prepared for something else." And the best way to avoid being overwhelmed by something like this would be just basically just sit back and look at the situation and try to come up with something that makes sense to you. Now, here I can capture up the knight, I can capture the pawn, and I can defend. I can play knight to c3, I can play d3, and I have to ask myself, like, what is it that I'm trying to do here? Like, what would be the point of each one? I think they're all good moves. So then the question becomes, what is it that I want to do? What is my goal afterwards? So if I take with the knight here, I guess my goal would be to maybe punish this diagonal right here, the h5 to e8 diagonal. By attacking his pawn, I'm opening up my queen for an attack. Bot's 1200. I don't think that I would have much going on, but if there's something you would like to try, maybe you could confuse your opponents. Um, Knight to c3 seems pretty solid because if she captures, I can just simply capture back with my knight. And if she attacks, I'd have to move my knight back, which would give her a pretty good strong center, but she also has this open. So I'd have to look for available ways to attack that. And d3, if she captures, I can capture back, which would give us both an e-pawn. So it's actually probably the most simplest out of all of them. If she doesn't capture, then my bishop might be trapped in. So I probably have to eventually play g3, and that's something I have to be comfortable with if I'm going to be playing d3, just in case she does not capture. So those are the options and that I see, and without knowing any opening lines after that move, just trying to assess the situation. There's no reason to really panic. So um, I kind of like knight takes e5 best, but I want to play simple and very structured. So I'm going to play d3. All right, she didn't take, which is perfectly fine. Um, I mean, if she took, I would be able to have my bishop open. If not, then I had to play g3 at some point. So I'm going to give her another opportunity, but I want to make sure that everything's fine. I'm thinking knight c3 right now, but his knight can't come in. And he can't use his bishop to attack because his pawn's in the way, so he can't like help jump my knight. So it's fine. Okay. Now there's more than one option. Obviously, you can capture it one way or the other. If I take this pawn and attack this knight, she would have to move the knight or lose it, and you can't capture the pawn back. So I will actually be kind of winning a pawn here. So that looks pretty simple and very straightforward. She can't move the knight back here to b4 if I take. If she does, it'll be attacking the knight twice. I mean the pawn twice, and I'm not defending it twice, which means she'll be able to capture it back, which is fine by me, because I get the pawn and she can get it back, but she'll be wasting moves because she has to move the knight over here and then back over here to take it. So I'm fine with that. Okay, that was a blunder. Um, 1200s don't normally make this kind of blunder in a long game, but if it's like blitz and a pre-move, or if it's something like a faster time control, I believe the bots play like similar to their level at like a 5 minute time control, and that's why some people think the bots are weaker than players. But in truth, if you take more than a 5 minute time to play, and you're playing someone your level and you're taking 5 minutes, you're gonna win. That's why it's good when you have long time control not to rush. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take. It's a free piece. All right. Now this, yeah, I'm still looking at this diagonal here. It's kind of, I'm thinking about just taking the here, so she takes back, and then I can. I'm not sure if my knight would be. Yeah, I can't come in yet with my knight. So I kind of want to move it out the way so my queen can go here, but so if I take, he takes. The bishop will be off this file. Yeah, if I take, he takes, and I move my bishop over to e2, then I will be able to have a diagonal if she decides to trade. And if she doesn't decide to trade, I can still castle and complete my development. So this is good for me either way. Alright, so I get to almost complete my development. Castle, get my bishop out eventually. Alright, I have no problem with this. Why does it tell me the computer evaluations? I don't remember having this on. I might have had it last time on in the settings here. That's fine though. I don't mind. Maybe this will let you know how good my moves are after I play them. Alright, I'm going to take. And then get ready to castle. Alright, so this pawn here obviously is attacked twice. So I get to capture. I can capture it for free. I think it's a good idea to capture now. And if I capture with the bishop, I also will be hitting the g7 pawn. If I take with the knight, she would be able to counterattack and attack my pawn. So when you have more than one option, it's a good idea to look at both of them and figure out which one is best and why. It's not as simple, I'm just taking the pawn for free. I'm taking the pawn, I have a possible attack over here, and if I take the pawn over here, I can lose one over here. So on g2. So it's not as simple, I can just take a pawn. So yeah, definitely you want to figure those out when you have options. Alright, so now she's threatening to take here. So, yeah, if I don't move my bishop out the way, she can't take my knight, and if I take back, it'll be a free bishop. That's a tactic. And if I move my bishop out the way, she'll take my knight, and I can't take back my bishop. I take back with a pawn. So I didn't look at that as an attack against me. So I could have blundered really bad. It actually says it's best, the computer, which I wouldn't have known that. I would have thought I messed up. But to me, I still messed up because I don't know how to handle this too well. I'm gonna just take this pawn right here, and after she takes, I'm gonna take with my jeep, and then castle queenside. So okay, well I don't have to worry about all that extra stuff then. Um, hmm. Yeah, this right here is confusing me because I keep looking at it and I'm like, I don't want to make a bad move, which I'm not like a grandmaster or anything, and I'm not like the best computer in the world, so obviously I will make some off moves. But the thinking involving it is super important. That's why I'm explaining it that way. Like even if I messed up and you see why, if you understand why I was thinking that way, then it's possible to apply in situations where it's actually good for you because they're all good, different ideas and principles and so forth. So, all right, I'm gonna get ready to castle queenside. It's pretty much right. I think I should do. All right, there's a double attack on the bishop. If I move the bishop out the way, you gotta take it back, and then I can castle. Yeah, it should be fine. Okay, I can take back, and then I can guard. That wasn't very good for her. Um, all right. Yeah, the computer's making instant moves, which oh, I can't even take it. I thought I was gonna take it, but yeah. All right. So castle, like the idea was. All right. I'm like I thought she blundered again for a second, but yeah, that's why moving fast and taking your time is very different. Your first instant analysis isn't always gonna be accurate. So that's the whole point of doing longer time controls. All right. So I'm up two bishops, and I have more pawns. Normally, when you're up this far in material, it's actually pretty good idea to um to simplify. And the best way to simplify is just simply take your opponent's pieces and pawns and or trade them. So right here, I can take here. The rook can come over to a8, and if I move my bishop back, the rook will come down. So obviously that would be bad for me. So I can take, but it will be a bad take. So I'm going to try to put my rooks where I believe they should be work best, and I believe the best would be E and F squares. I don't see this being open at all. I'm not going to purposely open the D file. The E file is already open, and the F file is being attacked by his rook and queen. So I think it might be best that I have something here. So I'm going to start with the E. Okay. She's doing a double attack on my B2 pawn with the rook and queen. I can block it by moving this pawn up one, but I don't like it too much, only because I kind of want to keep my structure and I want my pawns near each other. I can also play c3. I think I could play c3. Should be better. That way my king, if needed, I can go to b1 or c2 in the future and not just stay in the back row. Okay, now I can pin his rook to his king, I believe, with my bishop. Yeah, and simple tactics like this is if you practice it a lot, you'll see it immediately. And that's kind of why people tell you to do tactics all the time. And even after you learn a lot of them, the thing is you need to learn more and more and more. So this is a very basic tactic to pin the, you know, it's called the absolute pin. go ahead with that, and you win the rook, or win the exchange. Yeah, you normally do attack. Yeah. All right, so and now she's threatening to attack my a2 pawn. I can simply just move my king over, and I'm safe. I can also move my c pawn up one to block. The problem with that is she can move back to a dark square and try to attack the b2 pawn. So I'm gonna move my king over one. I can also go to c as well, but this pawn's under attack. So I'm gonna go over and block that way. And now my goal would be to overwhelm her king. I actually can sacrifice my bishop to take both his pawns because his king's exposed and he has only less pieces than I do. And if she tries something like moving the queen over here to take, then the king will be completely exposed. So I'm just gonna go ahead with that. I don't normally advise something like this, but because it's super exposed, it's perfectly fine. Yeah, she's threatening checkmate here as well. So if I call it check, 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 and trade queens, let's see if I can get that rolling. The reason I'm going on the, yeah, check, 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 and trade queens. So I've seen a pattern that I can do very easily. If the king went over to f1, f8 for any reason, I would have been able to pin the queen with the rook in the same manner I did with the bishop and rook. So it's perfectly fine. Alright. So let's block off the rook. Any counterplay. I like to block off counterplay more than anything else when I get a chance. So I'm going to move my king over and try to block all this stuff in. Right. And block this in. And block him from attacking. Because I have superior pieces, because I have more pieces than he does, it's easy to just block him off and then try to go in for the win. So now I gotta find a way to checkmate him in this situation. I'm going to block. Now, if I move my rook up one and over, I would be exchanging the pieces, but because it will take 2 moves and he can't move his pawn, he's obviously going to move something. So that wouldn't work. I'm going to start advancing this pawn. And I can also advance this pawn too. Actually, I think I should advance this pawn best because this king can't move over and I can support it with my rook. So I'm going to go ahead with that. I don't see what he's trying to do here. Alright, now if I take it, he still has 1 square left, so it's perfectly fine. It's just avoiding the checkmate in 1 more move, basically. So let's go ahead and finish this. This is check. And this is a pattern I like with the king and rook. If they're both on the same color squares and it's like this, you can simply call check and mate. You can actually walk them all the way across the board if it's down here. You can actually walk it all the way across the board, same pattern. So it's a good pattern to learn. I'm going to have to, if I do another bot, I'm going to have to do the settings so I can get rid of this because I don't want to see all the computer analysis stuff. I didn't realize I had this on, but it was still fine. How do I get into a new game with the bot? Computer. Alright, so if I choose this one, I have, oh, I even have 3 takebacks and all kinds of stuff. I don't know what the other stuff was, but alright. Oh, I guess that's standard because I had it on random last time and it went back to white. So apparently, whatever setting it was on, it was a normal settings. Okay, it's different on my phone. All right, so I like the perk, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get that started. Some people call it the King's Indian. I guess it is called the Indian game or perk. It goes back and forth depending on the line, I guess. All right, so it's called a gambit. Obviously, I can take, which I normally do. I didn't know it was an actual opening. I thought people were blundering or a pawn, but apparently it's a gambit. So here she checked, which premature checks are actually kind of bad, unless you have a good reason. Right now I can just move my pawn up, and she had to move her bishop again. All right, and she didn't, so which means I get to keep the bishop for free if I take the knight first. If I take the bishop now, it'll take the knight back. So I gotta go first to the knight, and then the bishop. So the order is really important to this kind of stuff. Okay, so that was pretty easy. I already got a piece up. Yeah, you definitely want to not hang your pieces that way. So I'm gonna go ahead with simple development and castle. All right. So I have a choice here. I can ignore it. I can by castling. I can take or I can push. That's usually kind of every time you get a pawn tension, you gotta ask yourself if you want to take it, push something, or play a different move altogether. So I'm gonna look at all of them. If I take, her queen's just gonna come in and attack the rook here, which then I'd have to find a way to avoid. And I don't actually see a way to avoid that. I think I would just lose a rook. If I'm going to knight out the way or bishop out the way, that's a free rook. So obviously taking would be bad. I can also push, which wouldn't be a problem. Which I don't see how she can take advantage of that. But it'll be her move, and I can castle. And if I castle and she takes, then I can take with development. So I'll let her take if she wants. Okay. Yeah, this bishop right here is going to make it very difficult for her to develop her bishop, by the way. It's kind of usually what happens when you fianchetto a bishop or in the opening. It kind of puts pressure down the side, and she gave me all these squares because I took the knight up here. She pushed her pawn, so she basically gave me the whole diagonal. So, how do I take advantage of this situation? I can't wait forever for her to take. I might eventually have to push. I can attack the knight with my bishop, but since it's not pinned, it's not really much of a threat. But she can't move. She blocks herself from moving here, and she can only go up here and here. So either G5 or D4. So those are squares that she can go to. Well, she can't go. Yeah, she can because of the bishop. But yeah, it's not. I don't see much of a reason to do this besides harass her knight. But I'm gonna do it anyways. Looks fine. Yeah. So the pawn center now is gonna be messed up. Okay, she didn't take. I thought she was gonna take back and get double pawns, but instead she moved her queen. Her queen isn't actually attacking anything new. The bishop is still under attack. This pawn is under attack, but it can't. I can capture back. This one is, but I can capture back. So it's not an actual threat. So I'm gonna go ahead and just retreat my bishop. And I'm gonna retreat it again and have this huge right here, this huge effect. If I had pawns over here, I would be considering a pawn storm, which I'm actually considering anyways. Even though I don't have all these connected pawns, I think I have enough for a pawn storm on the queen side. I'll be using my D, C, and A pawn if I do this. Trying to think of where my knight should be placed. Yeah, I'm gonna get my knight rolling right now, and I might have it on C5 or B4 depending. Excuse me. Okay, so she moved up. Like I said, same thing. Either push, capture, or hold different move. Knight takes looks like the best, I think. So I wanted to bring my knight in to help with my pawn pushes. Alright, she's attacking my pawn. So I'm going to go ahead and defend that. I can move it here to B6, but I don't want my knight to be pinned to the queen. Um, so I have other options. I have A5 attacking the rook while preparing for my pawns, and I have C7. C7 seems the safest. A5 is more aggressive, so it depends on your preference. I prefer to be a little bit aggressive, only because sometimes she blunders. When I'm not concerned about when someone doesn't blunder very much, sometimes I'm a bit more safe. Okay, that's pretty good. She's attacking my pawn here. Now, if I play safe here and I play rook to E8, if I do this, then she can't take this pawn here for free because she's also attacking this pawn still. The point of this was also to attack the rook, so she had to do something, and she did a counterattack. So she's taking another pawn. So now I have to concern myself with that. The best thing I can do, I can't defend both, is to find an attack. And this right here forces her to move her bishop out the way, and that allows me now to defend my pawn. So it's a little technical, but it's kind of how it works usually. If I move my bishop out the way, now she gets to attack this pawn. So she has a lot of stuff under attack. That's why I like this spot. She's not very good, so if you play solid, you should always win. Um, but she's always trying to attack you. So like you can't um, just do whatever. So this pawn's under attack. I can't move this bishop. So the first things first is defending this pawn. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I may move my rook over. Okay, she took advantage of it anyways. I think. No, yeah. But that was a blunder on her part. Now, if I didn't take it that way, and I moved my knight out the way, she would have had my bishop. So that was her attack. But her attacks usually are bad. Um, but they can make you panic and make you, mess up. So, how to continue from here? My bishop's protected. My knight isn't going to be under attack by any piece because she has no more minor pieces, and she has no pawns to attack it. So any piece that attacks it can't force it to move because my pawn's defending it, and no one would actually just take that to lose an exchange. So I'm not worried about my knight anymore, and my knight's defending my bishop. So I'm gonna allow my bishop to have some room here. Okay. Everything here is defending each other. So that's pretty good. Looks a lot more like it's very simple, but it looks to me I keep wondering like what is gonna what type of attack she's gonna do because she does do a lot of wild attacks, and if I'm surprised I can actually blunder. So I kind of am mindful. when it comes to that. All right, so and that's fine. I have to defend the knight again. Yeah. So she did an attack, but her attack sacrificed your rook and for a piece and a pawn. So all right, double attack on the bishop. And if I move my knight out the way, my queen's under attack. So I can't take with the queen. So I have to move my knight and my rook in the way. So if she takes it, I can take back with my rook. All right, now that I got this open, because I was trying to play on the queen side, now I have it open, my pawn might make it to the end. So I'm gonna go ahead and start planning that. I'm gonna I need to move and keep my knight defended. So I'm gonna play c3. Otherwise, she'll just take my knight. It'll be hanging. So she went for a double attack on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and defend it again. So this is defended twice, and this is also defended. All right, that's perfectly fine. If I take my rook, this rook here won't have any defender. So if I take with my knight, I think I feel a little better about that. So I want to make sure all my pieces are defended pretty well. And that was the only move that was good enough for that. So let's defend the pawn and let's start getting it ready for that. Okay. I wanted to move my rook up, but I have to wait because of this attack. So let's do the pawn. Alright, let's slowly move that pawn up and keep it defended. I probably can go for a checkmate, but I in the tournament that I played, the last one, the only game I lost was where I went for a checkmate just because I thought I was gonna win because it seemed very easy. I ended up blundering two pieces actually. That was really bad. Because I was super confident, and after that, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna play the best I can every time, and not think I have to go for a checkmate just because I might have one. You know, that was pretty bad. So, and it cost me $25. So definitely don't want to make those mistakes ever again. I learned my lesson. It was a pretty expensive lesson for me. So I'm gonna pawn up for a queen. And now that I'm doing this, she may have to decide to sacrifice or not. Okay. I had to check first for stalemate, but she has a move. Now I can attack and bring her king back, but the attacking here can bring it to h2 as well. So I'm going to put my queen behind the king, forcing the king to have to move forward. The only square the king has is h4. So I'm going to move my queen back and then move my rook then to come in to help aid in the attack. So I'm going to limit her movements first. Okay. That that's also allows me to move my rook in regardless. And every time I move, I have to look for stalemates. For example, she can't move here or here because my pawn and my knight. So obviously, and she can't move here because of my pawn, and she can't move back. So the king has actually 0 squares to move. Um, so let's say if I take this pawn, that should be stalemate, and I don't want that. So I have to look for a different move, and I'm thinking about moving my knight over to f4. If I move knight to f4, the queen would then have the g5 square, so it won't be a stalemate. And I think I'll just do that. And now I can play queen to g3. I think that was suggested by someone already. Queen to g3. And the king can move over to G. And I can. Hmm. My rook can go over to H3 as well. Call it check, which I like the best, to be honest. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. That's the only square he had, and I can let queen in. H6, G3. If I move H6, the queen can escape over here. If I take here, the queen can escape as well. What I want the queen out a little bit so I can do checkmate. So taking here, and this right here will be mate. Oh, before the rook takes? Yeah. Oh, before I move the, yeah. Yeah, I have to, before the rook takes, right here, queen of G3. Yeah, that would have made him go to G5, and if I played H6, could have moved over here. Actually, it's the same checkmate, actually, that I'm doing right now. Yeah, it'll be the same checkmate. Queen of G3, king to G5, H6, king to F6 is the only move to escape, and then rook to E6 is mate, which is basically what just happened here. Once I take with the queen, wait, is that the last move? Okay, once I take with the queen, this is exactly the actually exact same mate, just a different order. So yeah, so that was the same thing. That was a good idea. All right. The computer engine here is super slow. The reason why is because I have it set to like super analysis. So like I have my phone app and I have it for like basic stuff. But if I want to get more in depth, I have the settings on here for like a lot more. Wait, that's not the right settings. But I have the settings set for the computer so it can really evaluate. Um, so I'm not gonna wait for it. This is like for games that I really am interested in knowing more about. So I guess I could do one more game. Let's try. Do you want me to do a different bot or the same one for the last one? Do Wally? Wally? Oh man, you're gonna have me lose. Let's see. Where is Wally at? I think Wally's like this is not Pablo, Joel, Lorenzo, Wally. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna. You know what? I'll give it a go. I'll try it out. I do not want black. Let's do random. Okay. So, oh that's yeah. He's 1800. My rating's only 1450. The benefit I have against Wally is that these bots are I think their rating is based on a 5 minute time control. So if I really take my time, I should be able to beat him. If I rush, then I'll probably lose because he's better than me in a shorter time frame. So I think the bots are based on a 5 minute time control. Is what I think. 5 or 3. That's because of the way that the 1200 blunders. Most 1200 players don't blunder that way unless they're playing blitz or bullet. So that's why I think it's like that. People say the bots are bad. And it's like no. I think they're playing at a faster time control. They're not playing classical. All right. So I normally play knight to f6 here. All right, and I think that's. Oh, they have the name right here, the perk defense. I wasn't sure if that was a classical variation yet or not. I think knight to f3 is. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, classical variation. Um, this is actually pretty even for both sides. I don't normally move my bishop to g4 yet. If I do, it's after they castle because of the queen. I don't like to try to pin the knight until after they castled. The reason why is because if I try early on, they can easily just castle on the other side and not worry about, the pin and stuff. And if I take and he takes back with the pawn, his rook will be able to move over and attack my king because I normally castle on this side in the perk. So for those reasons, I don't like to move my bishop over here until after he has castled because I don't like the counterplay that is possible. All right, now this is considered a mistake. I forget if I'm supposed to capture or move my knight back to d7. So I'm gonna have to look at it a little bit. So let's try capturing first. If I capture and he captures back, then I can take his queen. He will most likely take back, and then move my knight over to g4, attacking the pawn twice on my bishop and by my knight. And I don't see a way he can defend against that. So let me go over it again. I take, he takes, I take queen. But that's only if he takes with the knight. Now if he takes with the king, and I move over, attacking the pawn, I also will be hitting this pawn and for a fork. So I think it is capturing. I think capturing is the way to go for this. Okay. For some reason, I calculated two different variations. I didn't calculate this one. So it's important. I do pretty well most of the time, but I don't obviously look at all of them. So I'm gonna have to figure out, how to add more lines to my mind. I can see them at 4 or 5 moves in, and about two variations, maybe three-ish, but not much more than that so far. Oh yeah, definitely castle. Mm-hmm. Castle super important is opening. Now his bishop exposed, and this pawn isn't moved forward. When his pawn is moved forward, it's difficult to attack on the queen side. The fact that the pawn is on c2 and he played knight to c3 already, I can actually move c6 with the ideas of pushing these pawns up. I have that available to me. So I'm gonna start that going. Okay. So you move the queen up. This is a little weird. I'm used to people playing bishop to e3, queen to d2 to attack my Fanchetto bishop, because this bishop can become a huge monster in the game, especially if I'm able to free up the center a bit. And right now I'm not sure if I should do a5 or b5. If I do a5, he might do a4, and then I don't have b. Yeah, so I should. If I'm gonna do this, I need to start with b5 if I'm gonna do the pawn pushing. So I'm gonna go ahead with that. I think it's fine. Let me double check. Okay, I think it's fine. All right. I don't like that very much. I don't think it's a very good move. Yeah, because I went two pieces for one. Even though point value is the same, rook and a pawn for two minor pieces, because it's two pieces, what ends up happening is I have an extra piece compared to him, and the extra piece can use to like attack more than one spot at a time, where his rook only is able to attack usually, you know. So it's not. I like two pieces better than the rook and a pawn. So let's see how to continue. I'm thinking about moving my bishop to f5 to attack the queen and the pawn. If I do that, he can block with his knight, which then I can take it. So that'd be bad for him. Um, he can move his queen out the way, maybe to d2 or d1, or even e2. Those all keep the pawn defended. Um, the only thing I think is e2 will also attack this pawn, and he might be able to try to pile up with his rook. But I'm not very concerned. It's already defended by my queen, and my bishop can go back to f8. So that's not a concern for me at all. So I'm going to go ahead with that, and it put a little bit of pressure on that pawn, and maybe at some point bring in another piece to attack it. Like my knight can come in at some point, maybe. Going a6, b5, attacking the pawn as well on top of the bishop attacking it. I'm not entirely sure. It depends on how he positions his pawns in the future. Okay, he chose that one, so he's not planning. So he's not planning to try to pile up here. Piling up here might have been a little better. I'm thinking. I thought he might go queen e2. So if I move his knight out the way, this pawn, and move my knight over to d5. Well, actually, I had to move it over somewhere else because if I want to double attack his pawn. So I'm gonna move up. But yeah, I'm gonna move up one, attack his knight, and then after that, I'm gonna get ready to double attack his pawn. Right here with the bishop and the queen. Alright, he defends it. He's definitely better than the Maria bot. Maria bot is 1200. He's 1800 while he is. So I kind of want to move my pawn up one, but I'm not sure about it. I don't know how that would work. I mean, if he takes it, I can take, and he can take. But I'm not very happy about that. I want to be able to harass this knight, but I don't see a good way to do that. I mean, I can move knight to a6 and maybe move the pawn up to attack. And if he takes it, I take, he takes, I take, he takes, he wins the exchange. So I have to move my rook over to help. So I'm going to go ahead with that. Okay. So now he's attacking my knight. I will play rook a7, rook d7 here. Rook a7, rook d7. I'm not entirely sure. Do you mean rook a to d8? You mean queen c7, rook d, double on d file? Let me see. Well, right, yeah. Maybe last move I could have started that. Yeah, maybe last move. Right now he's attacking the knight. So the point of moving the knight is I was thinking about moving his pawn up and helping pile up so I can have more control, but I don't like moving my queen over to defend my knight. I'd have to move it over to c8. I feel like that's very passive. I kind of want to move my rook over to c8 to help the push. And I can't move my queen to b6 because his knight will take it. I mean, I can also move it to a5, attacking his knight. And then moving my rook to c8 to help the push. And my queen will be here. My rook will be here. My two knights, my rook and my queen, will be all hitting c5. So I can push the pawn up and try to get a good counterplay because I have my bishop. Try to do like a queenside feels like a massacre war that one side is eventually going to get destroyed. Okay, so he's attacking my king and attacking my pawn. So I did a lot of preparation to move this pawn, and it looks like I'm just gonna lose the pawn. I did all this preparation to lose it for pretty much nothing. It's actually kind of sad. All right. So we have all right. All right, I'm gonna have to think a bit. My queen can go to b5. That's an option. Well, he can't. I'm gonna check. D5. My queen can go to d5, which is an option, but then I lose my knight. Definitely don't want to lose my knight over my pawn. I don't see a way that I can defend and keep my c pawn. Think about going queen to e6. I mean, not queen, my bishop to e6. And then after he takes, um, going rook to c8, attacking his queen. But then he has my knight, my e4 knight. If I go bishop to e6, my if I go bishop to e6, the queen can attack here, and it will be forking my knight and my rook, and it won't be easy. I don't think it's possible to defend them both, so I can't go bishop to e6 to defend the check. Because I was trying to think of some counterplay of like how to attack him after. Um, I may just have to move my king back and let him take the pawn, and then moving rook to c8. I think that's probably, the best I can think of, and I'll be hitting his pawn. So I think I should go ahead with that. Okay, he didn't take it. Um, my knight can move back to attack his queen. Queen at f5 check. Um, the f5 has the bishop. Um, do you wait? A B C D. Oh, you have the the board flipped. He's on c4 and I'm in check. This would be the f5 square if I was white. As black, this is a c4 square where the queen is at. Okay, I'm gonna move my knight back. Okay, so he's not taking the pawn, and I would have had this right here. He guarded against it, so I'm thinking I'm moving rook to c8 just to push the pawn. But he already has this here, and he has the bishop, so he pretty much stopped my pawn push. Really, I guess that would have been a really good move for me if I was able to do it. Knight c7, knight d5. Knight c7, knight to d5. Alright, if I play knight to d7, knight to d5, I'll be attacking the bishop. Um, you, you, you know what? That's actually a good idea because the knight is actually badly placed. The knight is badly placed, and I don't have an exact plan for the moment. And having my knight centralized would be very good. It would help with whatever's going on. Um, yeah, the knight was placed there only for the c5 push, and it looks like the c5 push has been stopped. So rerouting the knight would be good. I'm gonna have to look for counterattacks. So knight c7. Everything looks pretty closed off. He might be able to maybe attack my bishop, but it's not a big deal. I can just move it out the way. It has squares, so I'll go ahead. The squares to the bishop are being restricted right now. I know a lot of people don't think about stuff like that, but if he moves up one, I mean up here at g4, these are now blocked off, which means my bishop will only have c8. That's the only move. So like, let's say if I didn't see that, and I moved rook to c8, for example, then my bishop will be in a really huge spot. He just move b4, and then my bishop's trapped. So I know everyone learned about the bishop trap early on with like in the corner of pawns, but you can also trap the bishop with the knight by covering squares, escape squares. So if I did rook to c8, like I kind of wanted to at some point, that would have been really bad for me. So, okay. All right. I can't, normally I say capture, push, or something else. It's impossible to push. So I have to consider what would happen if I captured, and then if I don't like it, then I have to find something else. So let's say I captured the pawn, and he moves rook over to a3. My queen will be under attack, so my queen will be forced to move back. And the only two squares would be c7 and d8, if that happened. D8 is really not doing anything, and c7, I'm not entirely sure if he can start attacking the queen or not. Knight to a6. I'm not sure if that would be good or not for him. Thank you. Let's see. Queen to, yeah, if I take, he takes with the rook. Queen c7. I actually realized something. I'm up material a little bit. I can actually probably just take his bishop right here. But if he takes the pawn, I'd have to be forced to move the queen somewhere. And I can't take it because of his other rook. I kind of want to take his bishop, but I don't think that would be good for right now. If I take, he moves over. I move. If he attacks the queen again, like what would I do? I mean, I can't move the queen to b6 because if he takes here, he can take the queen and I'll lose my rook. He will be coming all the way down here. So that would be bad for me. If I don't do anything and I just leave it and I take, he can take. Yeah, and it'll be reinforcing his knight even more. So I'm thinking about just taking, letting him take back, me moving my queen somewheres, probably d8, and yeah, I think that should be fine. I'll probably leave my queen and rook in the bottom rank, behind my queenside pawns, using my bishops and my knights to try to somehow chip away here. I think that's a good idea overall to do. I don't know if my tactics will be good for it, but I think overall that's a good idea to try to do. Okay. Bishop takes c2. Yeah. Let's go back. Right here. Bishop takes c2. I mean, he would be able to take out the queen if that happened, I think. Knight to e3. Okay. Bishop takes e2. Queen takes. Knight to c3. The c3 square is guarded by the pawn. But yeah, yeah, I am kind of up a piece. It's not a full piece. It's 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 a knight and a bishop for a rook and a pawn. Oh, let me see. Bishop takes c2, queen takes c2, knight takes c3. So bishop takes, queen takes. Oh yeah, that was I missed a very nice tactic. Yeah. So basically, it was what I missed was bishop takes. Obviously, the queen's in danger, so the queen most likely would take. And then I take here, forking the queen and the rook. And after moving the queen out, I would take the rook, and I would be up a full minor piece because the exchange. I'm already have an exchange, and this will be yeah, I'll be up a full minor piece. The other option, if I take, you can just take the pawn. Let's say if I take c2, queen to b4, um, we'll be exchanging pawns, and then my queen can take his queen. Yeah, either way would be fine. Yeah, but if he took back, that would be a full piece. But he also could move up one, and I would still have a good advantage because stuff will kind of chip away. I think, yeah, either way, it'll be good for me if I did that. All right, so I'm at a7, double rooks. I can always move up, but if I move up to a5, well, he can't come down here to attack because of my knight over here. My knight on c d6 was blocking the b7 square. So if I move up to defend it, the reason why I need to move to defend it is because my queen is hitting the a5 square. So if I move my pawn up, it will be attacked twice and defended twice. He can move the queen in to help. He also can move his bishop in to help as well. So if I just take his bishop right now, that'd probably be best. And then after his queen moves over, then I can move to a5 and not worry about the bishop going to d2 taking it. So I probably should take the bishop right now first before I. Yeah, I think that's best. Now, I can take a c pawn and he'll take my a pawn. Um, my a pawn is considered weak because by itself, he has three pawns right here that are connected. So positionally, it might be better if I allow that trade to happen. If I just take this pawn here, knight fork. Oh, talking about yeah. Oh, right here, knight fork right here. Knight to c4, you mean? Okay. Um. Yeah. Knight to c4 works great. Yeah, and that's another reason why I'm doing bots. Is because of my rating. If I played a live game at my rating and I got advice at all, I actually could be banned. I did talk to chess.com about that. It would be considered cheating. A lot of masters and grandmasters have chat, but it's assumed that masters know way more than the people they're talking to. So it's okay if people give advice. It's perfectly fine to give me advice as long as I'm playing bots. So this is the reason why I don't normally play live against random people. I have played live against people in my group that were under 1,000 because I kind of try to teach them stuff here and there. Um, so yeah, this is the reason why I do bots is because if I wasn't, I think that's how it works. I could be wrong, but I think that's how it works. That's what I. So knight here, fork. All right. Definitely thank you for that. I would not have seen that. I was too much thinking about the pawn and the position, a little bit of positional advantage that I probably wouldn't have taken too much advantage of. So right now this pawn is attacked twice by the bishop and queen. I can take it with the bishop actually because there's a fork, there's a pin right here, and he might have to move his rook over to block it, and then I get a free knight. Yeah, it is. It is considered cheating. Only because like I mean you obviously know why. Like I can blunder, I can make mistakes, and if so I'm getting help, then obviously I'm not making those same blunders and mistakes, and my rating would increase because of it. However, if I were to do it, I can actually do it unrated games. If I wanted people to help me live against other people, I would have to play unrated games, and it won't be considered cheating. I won't get banned for that. So, if you wanted, if any, I think I'm not 100% sure. You should look it up, but I think you can use opening books and computer engines on unrated games. I believe, but don't take me for face value for it. Look it up. I'm not 100% sure. If someone finds out after hearing this, please tell me in the comments um, if it's correct or not. But I think you're allowed to use engines, and I think you're allowed to use books and opening stuff if you're playing an unrated game. Um, but rated games, everything is, you know, very way more strict. So I think I should take here, pinning the queen. See, I wouldn't. Yeah. So that's okay. I thought he might do that. I can take the rook, but I think I should take the knight first. So I'm gonna take the knight first. Okay. Now I can take the rook if I wanted, but I'm also considering moving my queen up here first for check. If I move for check, his queen would have to move out the way. Trying to look at different stuff here. I don't want to just simply capture because I see something nice. I'm gonna look for more. So if I call it check and he moves over, I can take. He can take back. My queen will be here. Then I can move my rook in. Yeah. So if I just take and he take back, I can also call check afterward. Queen of b6. Queen to b6. If I move queen to b6, he can move his queen out the way. That'll be a free rook. I have a free rook now. But this can actually, yeah, I think it looks a little better. I think it's actually more accurate. It looks more accurate. I could go ahead with that. All right. So now definitely take the rook now, for sure. Um, he's attacking this square and his pawn. He's attacking both. The only way to defend both is to go g5. G5 will protect both pawns because this pawn will be defended by the bishop, and this pawn will be blocking the diagonal to the e7 square. So if I move up one, it would be fine. I'm trying to look for counterplay. Um, I don't see anything, so I'm gonna go ahead with that. Okay. Now I can move my bishop over, call check. If he moves a pawn up, my queen can come in and call check, and it's pretty much game. If I go over here and call check, he's also able to move back. At that point, I can take a pawn and get ready for trying to checkmate. So I think this is the move right here to get for checkmate no matter what. Okay, and I can take this pawn right here. At that point, bishop to g3. Um, Bishop g3 now, you mean, or bishop d3? If I do bishop g3 now, yeah, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about going queen to b2, and then if I go in the back rank, it'll be mate. Um, but if I capture here and he plays, let's say, g3 or g4, then it won't be mate. So yeah, so this would actually, yeah, it would secure mate a little bit better. He's now threatening to take my rook. But if I go queen to f2 and he calls check and I move up and he takes my rook, I have mate. So it doesn't matter if he takes my rook or not. Can he stop mate in another way? If I go queen to f2, he actually can't stop mate at all. So yeah, because his queen can't go to the back rank. So I guess that's it. Unless he can go for a perpetual that I didn't see. Okay, I can call check. The queen can block, and the bishop can go to f2. Wait, then he can take it. That's not gonna do anything. I go up one, check. Queen goes to f2. I can take, king takes, and then I gotta bring my rook in. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I can actually just take the queen actually, and then now I can do mate. I almost did this whole complicated thing, and I'm like, wait, I can just take the queen. All right, that's a good game. Yeah. Thank you for the help. I would have lost by myself, for sure. I usually play good against him, but I usually lose. So let's see. I'm gonna wait for the analysis. I'm gonna for this one, and then I'm gonna go off live after that. But if anyone, the reason why I went live today, um, I don't only have 2 viewers right now. Someone yesterday messaged me about trying to get help for chess and stuff. They started off a chess club type thing in Cape Town, Africa, and they have like a lot of kids there, and they don't really have transportation or money for tournament fees, but that's like a goal that they wanted to do. So I was gonna see if I can try to help them out. I made a post about it with this video, and I tagged him in it, and I made a post somewhere else. So hopefully I can get something going with that. I know most of my viewers are the people who are in the under 1,000 group that I do for free. Um, so let's see, blunder. So I do analysis, I believe, was it, or game review? I don't want to do the wrong one. I think it's game review. I think that's the one. Yeah. I have it set in a setting, so it's gonna be a little better than my phone. I have a higher depth on my Xbox. 82. It's not bad. Um. All right. Let's go over it a little bit. Book move. Book move. Book move. I kind of get the book move out the way because there's nothing much. Yeah, I usually win with the perk more than I lose. I didn't realize I played it over 1,000 times. The classical. All right, it's not too bad. I got a couple of draws in there too. Yeah, e5 is good. H3 is best. I'm used to people playing H3, by the way, just for the bishop, so I can't take. So that's pretty normal. Take, take. All right. So far, so good. So apparently C5 was better. C5 is a bit more aggressive. He can take it. I'll take the queen. He take off his knight. But it also opens up the diagonal here, so that's probably why it's better. I have a common failure when it comes to this. I usually play C6 when I'm supposed to play C5. So that happens to me a lot. Oh, my battery is almost down. 15%. I'm gonna try to go over the game as quick as possible, um, so it doesn't die on me during the video. All right, so queen mistake, and I made another one. I was wondering about bishop f5. I went against it because sometimes this square sometimes is usually bad to have my bishop because of the g6 pawn. It's kind of trapped in there a bit, especially when someone plays something like, you know, h3, g4, but h3 hasn't been played yet. But usually when h3 is played, if I go here, they can easily go g4 at some point and making my bishop again losing tempo. Obviously, they move the queen out the way first, but after the queen out the way, it'll make me lose a tempo. So I usually have a I usually don't see that. So these are two different things that I've been having trouble seeing when a computer gives me inaccuracies. So in the games, I usually and that's a pattern. So I'm gonna have to try and memorize it a little bit better, and maybe once in a while play c5 when I'm unsure, and try to figure out the best timing for that, and also for the bishop. I think there's little things I have to work on. Yeah, that's a blunder. I already kind of figured that was bad. It's basically extra material, even though it's the same point system, 6 for 6. So it's usually bad. Okay. Ooh. So I had a good advantage and I kind of dropped it a little bit. I was thinking about centralizing my knight. That's what I was going for. Yeah. I was trying to. Yeah. I was. That's what I was. I was trying to my knight and going for c5 push, and both my knight moves were kind of bad. He defended against it, so obviously I was. My plan wasn't super great. I thought he did a good move there because it kind of made it more difficult. Oh, okay. Only one good move and I found it. Well, I mean, obviously I know my knight's in danger. I don't see why that's a great move. I think that would be probably maybe best, or something close to that, excellent. But I don't think it's a great move, the only move, because it's whatever. Maybe it's my rating. Maybe it's considered great for my rating. Check, move back. This opportunity to defend an unprotected piece. All right, all right. Queen d5 was best, but I still like the knight idea because it worked out really well. So okay, I missed. Yeah, so they liked your move as well. They liked your c2 move. I'm gonna go over that actually. Show line. Yeah, so what you saw is exactly what um they consider the best moves and to get a piece. So if even if he did something different, obviously his move wouldn't have been the best move, which would have been even better for me. So yeah, that's definitely So let's see something else. If I would have taken it, and let's say he would have taken this instead. Does it show me anything or? Nope. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, this happens a lot to me. Because the engine is really high. It's really strong for the Xbox, but so this happens to me a lot. So, but anyways, good game. Normally when I refresh it, it doesn't work. So I can try. Okay, yeah, it starts me over. Um, that was a good game. I'm gonna have to go now before this thing gets. I'm gonna see if I can save it though. How do I save it? Add to library. Save it. All right, my battery's at 5% now, so I have to go. Good game, and make sure to like, subscribe, and share my stuff to other people so I can get more people involved. All right, thank you. All right, bye bye.